the Tab Everest. They're off and racing. Think about it, Private Eye. I wish I win. Think about it in front from I wish I win. Think about it.
I wish I win on the outside, grabbing the lead, and I wish I win one from Bellinefatina.
Here she comes, Jolly Star, shot away. Ease down, Jolly Star. She is a star in the making.
Hello everyone, welcome to our final trek to the Everest before our barrier draw next Tuesday night. The field is just about complete. We'll talk about that and a couple of special guests tonight. Rob Archibald from Neesham Archibald and also Adrian Bott, who potentially has two runners in the race. Ray Thomas, Chantel Buckley and Chris Roots are with me after this morning's trial. It was a star-studded trial, but what did we learn?
Probably nothing. But
they all went good.
They all went well. They're all fit and well, so countdown is on 12 days to go, and field just about complete, as you said, Greg.
Yeah, the trainers learned that they're all pretty much spot on.
That's it. They're all on track, aren't they? We knew that we wouldn't see a lot. We knew that they'd all go to the line on the bridle and do exactly what they did. So I don't think we were all going to be none the wiser after it. So.
Any news out of the trial this morning?
No, just that there's 20 million on the line next Saturday week, and there was nothing on the line on Tuesday morning. I went Tuesday morning at Randwick. I know what I'd be waiting for. I'd have everything stowed up and ready to go Saturday week.
Here are the runners, the confirmed runners in every slot except for Coolmore. Now you will notice that Yulong Investments has made their move, and it will be the 3-year-old Growing Empire. Growing Empire will join Traffic Warden, Lady of Camelot, and potentially Stormboy as the 3-year-olds to go round in this year's Everest. Only one former winner. Think about it, not there. Plenty of mares, and now a great list of 3-year-olds.
It certainly is. We thought there'd be a lot of 3-year-olds in the race, and if Stormboy is confirmed, we'll talk to Adrian Bott later, that'll be 4 3-year-olds, which is the most we've ever had. But interesting, the defending champ can't make the Everest field. Amazing, isn't it?
Let's go to our first guest, Rob Archibald from Annabelle Neesham and Rob Archibald Racing. They are looking forward to Sunshine in Paris lining up in the Tab Everest, and they had 3 trialers, Amelia's Jewel, Lady Laguna and Sunshine in Paris in this trial that we're about to show you this morning. Rob Archibald, thanks for joining us. Well, first things first, Sunshine in Paris. Let's talk about her. It's going to be 5 weeks between runs. How's she going?
I think she's going well. It was a really nice trial from her this morning. Tommy gave him a lovely feel, and he feels like she's exactly where we needed to be. So I think she did everything we'd hope to see there, and she seems to have come through it well, and all systems go for obviously next Saturday. But yeah, she's in great order. She's very well in herself. We've kept her, as you know, and that was just a nice hit out today, and that should just have her exactly where we need to be for sort of nearly 2 weeks' time.
There she is in the white colours, the fairway colours with the darker hat, following Lady of Camelot, just getting to the outside of her, officially finishing 4th in the trial. We know she's great fresh, and the lovely part about this is, Rob, this is the plan. The plan is to go in fresh.
Yeah, that's right, and that was well documented after her winning the Shiraka. Annabelle said we'll just go 5 weeks between runs, and it was always a plan to give her the trial in between as well. So, yeah, look, I think, fingers crossed, touch wood, everything's gone to plan to date. She's fit. She looks magnificent. Her coat's coming, and I think come the Everest, she'll be really blooming. So from our point of view, we're very happy. Yeah, she's doing everything you really want to see from her.
Lady of Camelot, they're together.
Fingers crossed she's trotting up nicely tomorrow, and it'll be a relatively easy run into the race. But I thought the trial was excellent. She was on the bridle, she was travelling really nicely, and importantly, Tommy was very happy. So he knows it well now.
As for third photos between
as I said, it's
Sunshine in Paris,
we feel like we've got a really good chance leading into the Everest.
Very deliberate plan, obviously, Rob, to go fresh up into the Everest. When she won the Shiraka, and she was brilliant that day, ran time, but her coat was certainly quite woolly. But I saw her yesterday at the stables there at Warwick Farm, and looks a different horse, Rob.
Yeah, she is. She was very wintry first up, and it's just every week she's improving that little bit more. And I think we've still got 10 days to go, and I think that'll just have her absolutely perfect. She'll be, the coat she's gleaming underneath. She's still got a bit of a way to go, but she's nearly there. So, look, that's the only knock on her probably at the moment is that she's not quite there in the coat, but I'm sure she will become Everest.
We saw Lady Laguna and Amelia's Jewel also trial. Are they on path?
Yeah, I thought Lady Laguna's trial was excellent. She obviously had one run, just had a little temperature and a virus, so she's, she went out for a little bit and we're building back up. But she may end up in a Sydney Stakes. We'll just see how she comes through it before we confirm those plans. But I thought she was very forward. We didn't expect her to trial as forward as she did. And Amelia's Jewel was just a tick over trial, but I love the way she closed off as well. So I think that, albeit a trial today, I think that's probably the way to ride her, just that little bit quieter with a good tempo up front and allow her to show a turn a foot late. So, look, all three were good. Just hope they all come through it fine. And Amelia's Jewel's on to King Charles and maybe later Laguna the Sydney Stakes.
Rob, you've been on both sides of the fence now. You've been a trainer and you worked for Coolmore and worked on their slot a bit. What's the difference between having to pick a horse and having to train one to get there for this day?
I don't know I think they're both pretty hard at the moment, but it's very different. But obviously, from a training point of view, your whole focus is just on the horse and just making sure that everything's getting done as best as they possibly can to make sure that they arrive in the best possible way they can. So that's really been our energy, and you do give her a little bit of extra care, particularly this 5 weeks, just to make sure you're doing everything right. So it's a real team effort. There's a lot of people that work behind the scenes. And obviously when you're trying to select a horse, you've got so many options. You're looking at everything, trying to make sure you get the right one. And it's pretty hard because some of the horses are linked to slots already. So, the top ones, especially if you wait a little bit, they often select themselves. So, yeah, look, it's very, very different, but I'm enjoying it, that's for sure.
And between you and Annabelle, how many times a day do you reckon you go around and just check the box of Sunshine in Paris?
I'd say about 15, I'd reckon, at the moment.
Is that you, or is that just you, or is that Annabelle included?
Annabelle 14 at least. No, she gets checked all the time. So, look, she's pretty easy mare to look after, but she's definitely getting a fair bit of extra care at the moment. She goes to the beach a lot just to keep it mixed up, but all in all, she's very easy to train, but we are just trying to make sure we get her there in tip-top shape.
Just go back to when you were working for Coolmore and the decision was made to run Yes, Yes, Yes in Chris Waller's slot. It changed the face of the Everest very early on, the fact that a 3-year-old could win it. Can you just go back to your recollections of why Coolmore thought he was the right horse to run in Chris's slot?
Yeah, that's right. It was quite a big decision at the time, wasn't it? I mean, he'd obviously... he was pretty well credentialed leading into it, but Chris was really the one that had the faith, and he said, "Look, I think this horse is going really well. I think we should put him in." And Coolmore backed Chris. So, full credit to Chris. He was the one that really said, "I think he's our Everest horse." And I remember he galloped. He had a racecourse gallop the Saturday before, and Glenn Boss rode him in that gallop from memory, and he got off him, and he said, "This horse is going really well." So. I think from that moment we started to feel like we had a chance, although I don't think any of us believed we were going to win it. But yeah, wasn't it? That's, as you said, that's really it, open it up and given people a lot more confidence for those 3-year-olds to go. They're obviously well weighted at this time of year, and that was a great thrill back then. And the 3-year-olds, I'm sure, will be right in the mix this year.
And in a sense, Rob, you could change the face of the Everest again, because remarkably, as Greg mentioned a couple of weeks ago, no mare has won or been placed in an Everest, and this year we're going to have a few mares in the race, and particularly Sunshine in Paris.
Yeah, it's interesting. Hard to believe that a mare hasn't won it or placed. Yeah, I hadn't even thought of that. But yeah, look, as I said, just want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to get it there in the best order. I think it's going to be a very even race. Just going through it, at least talking to a lot of people today at the trials, I think the barrier draw is going to be so important, and we're just excited. We've got a live chance in the race, and hopefully she can arrive in her best order, and if she does, no doubt she's right in it.
And Rob, if you're going to run Lady Laguna in the Sydney Stakes, would you like to see her as possibly an emergency in the Everest, just to cover that base, if there was a chance to get her in to run for 20 million?
Yeah, I don't see why not. Look, she's obviously trialled well. She's a little bit behind probably where you'd like her to be to expect her to go and run really well in Everest, but we'll just see how she comes through this. She's very forward naturally anyway, so yeah, I don't see why not. She's proved herself at this level before. Obviously, albeit this is arguably probably a higher quality field assembled, but she's an outright. She's a great sprinter, and I'm sure she'd run well if she did get a start. But that would be a few discussions with the owners before we did something like that.
Rob, thanks very much for joining us. Good luck in the Everest. Good luck at the barrier draw next Tuesday.
Thank you very much.
There's Rob Archibald, who fronted up here on the Sunday morning after Yes scored. He sat down the end of that desk, bright-eyed. He made it. And then in walked Brace Kosciuszko about 10 minutes later.
Compare?
Rob was doing better. Now, let's go back to this trial and have a look at them and talk about the other Everest contenders in the trial. Jolie Starr.
Just trucking, wasn't she? Yep. Just in behind them, just very easy. The news broke this morning. James McDonald will definitely ride Jolie Starr in the Everest, and that's her in the black and gold colours, and she just stays midfield. Like most of them, Greg, and even the winner, Lady of Camelot, all given pretty easy runs.
And Shani, she, like Sunshine in Paris, are going to be 5 weeks without a run going into the Everest. And they've got identical first-up form.
Yeah.
So they're both fresh performers and as good as each other when it comes to performing first up.
Exactly as good as each other. The thing with Jolie Starr is her second up run maybe, I guess, to some punters, a little bit disappointing, but she's bounced back with that really nice trial. Obviously, James has sat on her at home to know she's going well. She hasn't had an extra run, so she's obviously showing him enough, and that tick over trial it must have just sealed the deal with him, thinking, well, she's flying. Because he would have had to have sat on her to choose her over Giga Kick. Yeah. I know his run was disappointing, obviously, and we'll touch on that later.
Well, but he gave it away on Saturday when he came back and said to you, it was a common run.
Yeah.
It was pretty damning, wasn't it?
When he said that, I thought, straight away, that was... And then he backed it up with he'll improve off the run, which we thought maybe. But you kind of... Straight away you knew that he was going to go Jolie Starr.
And he couldn't mask his disappointment, Chris, because he thought Giga Kick would win, and with the run he had, he should have won.
Well, that was the whole thing. The race was run farcically slowly for that class of horse. So they can all sprint home in the same sort of times. But you expect Giga Kick to have probably a length or two more up his sleeve than he did, and that's we're comparing Giga Kick to Giga Kick. We're not comparing him to a normal horse. He's gone enormous for any other horse. But he was expected on the weekend, if he was in front of Bella Nipotina in a race like that, he finishes in front of Bella Nipotina, he finishes in front of Marzu, he finishes in front of Airman, even if there. But you look here, he looks like he's labouring, but again on the line he goes,
the last 100,
he picks up again.
But he did that first up too.
Exactly the same. He looks like
Which is the reason, sorry Chris, the reason Clayton Douglas is considering the blinkers. Maybe that will be what he needs, because the best part of his race, Chris and Chantel's, both times have been the last 100.
Maybe he's a better chaser and they might have to ride him a bit further back, but both times they put him up on speed and he likes to pick up and find a back and go over the top of them. He's an interesting study, because who do they get now? Would they go over, there's not that many jockeys around who you could get. Would they go and get Zach Bird and bring him out for that day, which would add another element to the day?
He's won a Group 1 on him.
Yeah, and it's just with him, everyone knows how good he is, but can he get back there? And from what we've seen so far, he's not back there, not anywhere near that level. But such as his respect in the market, he's still under 10-1. So that's the thing. With Jolie Starr, they really considered running independent. She was going to run independent right up to the last minute, and then Chris just said, no, I think to keep her sharp, we need to trial and go this way, and that's what they've done. And I think she's going to be a lot sharper than she was second up. I think she'll be a lot closer.
And Chantal, just with Giga kick, to your eye, Corey told me there's still a little bit of improvement there. How was he to your eye?
I'd heard so many comments from the stable about how he was almost spot on. And when he walked into the yard, I thought, am I seeing something completely different?
Not quite there.
He didn't. He looked like he needed another run. But in saying that, I was comparing him to when he was a 3-year-old, and he wasn't as big and gross as he is now. So when he walked out of the yard, I thought, oh, his manners were great. Don't get me wrong, his manners were really good, and he hadn't sweated up. But when he sweated up behind the barriers, I thought, this horse might need this. And
He
probably did.
I saw him at the trials, and he just looks like a big hulking sprinter that's muscle on muscle.
Well,
but
he
I think
is now.
But I don't know whether it's that he's not just had the final cut where he cuts it right back and the muscle comes right through. Like, he's hulking, isn't he? Like, you look at him walk around with every other horse in a parade, and he looks bigger than them. Just looks physically bigger than them.
And that's it.
Okay, on to another horse in that trial, Private Eye. Is anyone here surprised that Whitby, Werrett and Madden went with Private Eye instead of Think About It, considering that Think About It was probably had the edge on Private Eye before the premiere on Saturday?
Probably slightly in front. Private Eye's trial this morning with the blinkers on, so a little bit of intent there. He trialled really well. Think about it, you just got to put a line through.
Well, it was a hard decision.
They put a line through the run, but they put a line through him as well.
Everything that
Which
could go wrong did go wrong.
Because I think About It, that was the best I've ever seen him look on Saturday, by far the best.
But the whole race
and the race didn't work out, so I kind of feel sorry for Think About It. But Private Eye, the races haven't been run to suit him, and I think his runs have been better than what the form shows. So it was a tough decision because I think they're both equally as talented, and it's a shame that one misses out. It's a shame that Think About It doesn't get in because of the way the race played out on Saturday.
I think you got to remember they took the fight Private Eye last year, so there's a little bit of unfinished business there with that horse. They're always going to take one of Jamie Walters' horses, one of the proven horses, and I think they know what they're going to get with Private Eye. I think his 2 runs have been enormous. I thought second up, he just got caught in his run second up was like a go back, go forward, did everything wrong and still ran 5th. Like, nothing went right for him. In an Everest, he's going to be able to get into his tempo and things like that. Where with Think About It, you just don't know what you're going to get after Saturday. I know Jason Collins, I spoke to him at the races yesterday, he was still terribly disappointed with what happened and how it played out. He was left with, if he went forward and put it in a position and then it ran like no good at all, he would have been going, oh, you've done the wrong thing. But once he went back, it was physically impossible for him to make up the ground when they went so slow. I thought Joe's comment on it was really telling, where he said it's the best reverse team riding you've ever seen, which shows you that there was no intent from the stable to put speed on for him. They just thought it had happened naturally. It didn't, and now he's on the outside looking in.
What about the other runners in this? We'll talk about Lady of Camelot when Adrian Bott joins us, but Fangirl, she's obviously ticking over nicely, and Celestial Legend, Les Bridges, hoping that this horse can recapture his form after 2 so-so runs, but they probably weren't run to suit him.
Correct,
what about these blinkers? These magic blinkers.
Yeah, I liked his trial, Chantal. That's him on the outside in the white and the red, and he's just, again, under a tight hole. But
he looks like he wants to be a part of it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to be a part of it the other day, did he?
Correct.
Not at all.
Very good point.
Not at all.
He's in the contest.
He looks like
there,
he's in
isn't
the zone and wants to be a racehorse.
Exactly.
You're right. His first 2 runs have been very so-so, and you're questioning if he's come back as good as what they thought he would.
You've got to trust the master list.
Who rode him in that trial. Blake Shin come up and rode him. He rides in the King Charles. It's a jockey change.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we've covered off on that trial. We'll do some more with Adrian Bott when he joins us, talking about Lady of Camelot. And will Stormboy be there? That's to come on Trek to the Everest.
Well, this calls for a toast, so pour the champagne, pour the champagne.
Cause I've been acting like sour milk all on the floor. It's your fault, you didn't shut the refrigerator. Maybe that's the reason I've been acting so cold. If I could escape and recreate a place as my own.
Well, considering the year they had with their 2-year-olds, it is not surprising that Gai Waterhouse and Adrian Bott have the chance to run 2 of those in the Everest. They dominated 2-year-old racing leading up to the Golden Slipper and winning it with Lady of Camelot, and she's going to be another slipper winner to line up in this year's Everest, following on from Shinzo and She Will Reign. But let's find out if Stormboy's going to be there. And we're not going to beat around the bush. Adrian Bott, is he there or not?
Yeah, look, at this stage, all indications are positive, and we're heading down that path with him. The colt's been absolutely terrific since his run in the Golden Rose. So everything that we're doing with the colt at home in terms of his training and his preparation is on that Everest path. So we're heading that way towards the race, and just want to make sure all the final boxes are ticked in the lead up, which, as I said, at every stage is doing so at this stage. So very, very confident and very pleased with the horse. Right,
so it sounds like everyone's in agreement. It's just a matter of doing all the paperwork, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good way to put it, was have those final discussions with Tom Magner and the team. And obviously they've got investors in the horse himself in terms of it being a stallion prospect. They've got other investors in the slot as well. So a few discussions that they've all got to have between the various parties and all come to agreement. But I think also they're obviously just waiting for the confidence from us in the stable that we've got the right horse that can go there and be very competitive, which we are.
So I guess what you're saying, Adrian, this isn't an afterthought. Since the Golden Rose, you have been focused on the Everest with Stormboy and indeed training him for the race.
Yeah, one of the first, I think, sort of words Tom uttered to me after the horses crossed the line in the Golden Rose was the Everest. So we were pretty quick to sort of go onto that path and think that way. And then obviously once we had sort of a full 24 and 48 hours to see how he'd initially come through the run, we were able to sort of confirm that was the path that we were most likely looking to take with him.
I noticed at the last start you made a gear change, you could say, at the barriers with him. Do you think that got him out of the gates a little bit better? Because he can be that touch slow away.
Yeah, I think last start it was certainly much better into stride. Whether that was because of the small change there or whether just sort of being able to sort of be loaded last there and have that wide draw where he had that additional space previously when he was sort of in midfield there, he just copped quite a bit of interference there initially. So his second up run was probably a little bit unfair on him, but his 2 other starts, his preparation have certainly been much better than what we've seen from him previously.
Personally, Adrian, would you love to see him get that big race win that the boom around him has expected for now 6 months?
Very, very true, and I'd very much like to do that. I don't think we've been at the public have sort of been able to see the quality that the colt sort of deserves. Like we know how good he is and the potential to where he could get to and what he's shown us at home and everyone involved with the horse. So we haven't quite got there yet, but I certainly haven't lost confidence. It's still very early days in his career. He's still putting it all together. He's obviously a very exciting horse and really sort of plan on being able to showcase that at some point.
When he came back and made that statement in the San Domenico, we spoke afterwards and you didn't really know what path he'd take. You spoke about going to a Guineas, going to a Cox Plate. And in the same breath, you said he could be an Everest horse. Just looking back on it now, why don't you think he's ready to go to a mile and 2,000 metres?
Look, I'm not sure if it's necessarily that he's not ready. I think he could have went down that path and been just as effective. It wasn't a straightforward call following the run in the Golden Rose, but I thought he could have easily gone to a mile in the Guineas and handled that very well, and potentially could do sort of going forward. But we just felt keeping him here, having that 3 weeks between runs, just the opportunity to be able to sort of freshen him up. Obviously, it's a formula that sort of worked really well off the back of the Golden Rose, and maybe just getting back to that style of racing, having a bit fresh like we did first up, might just be very effective for him. And obviously, when you've got the Everest there in contention, you've got to look at things a little bit differently now than what we have traditionally done with some of these horses. So that was obviously a big reason to think that down that path. Had the Everest not been been there an option too, and we could well have seen him lining up in the Guineas.
Well, you're obviously happy with Storm Boy. What about Lady of Camelot, Adrian? She had things go against her, I guess you could say, in the shorts. She trialled this morning, typical Lady of Camelot trial, very sharp. How is she less than 2 weeks out from the Everest?
Yeah, I think she's in excellent shape, and I was really satisfied with the trial that we saw from her this morning. Just wanted to ride a nice sort of contained trial and see her being sharp and effective and doing her best work late. And I thought Rachel held her together nicely, but when she did ask for a little bit of an effort there, I thought there was an immediate response, which I loved seeing from her, and I thought she sustained that nicely through the line and still looked to have plenty left in hand. And obviously there's sort of plenty of horses around her there that's giving you a great indication of where she's at. But I thought she looked to do that nicely. Tried to follow a format that we thought would suit her. If we were able to get her into the Everest, it would give her the best setup for that. And obviously that was us sort of going through the shorts where she was most unsuited and giving us the chance to, I guess, have that month run in, very similar to the setup that we had with her going into the slipper. So I guess going to that race was by design. Even with that, I was hoping she was going to be able to be a length or two closer in the run, but the way the race panned out, the day didn't suit her, and as I said, the conditions were against her. So I still thought it was a very good run in hindsight.
Would you expect her to lead the Everest field up? Because we know in the Moya there was a lot of criticism around Zach not leading, but he got off and said she just didn't have the brilliance. And then Tim got off her the other day and said she's not as quick out of the gate. So what are you kind of expecting leading into that race with her?
Yeah, look, I guess sort of went in with a few different sort of minds. We haven't quite seen that real sort of sharpness from her this preparation yet, but have changed a few things in her training, and obviously just felt that we still left a lot of improvement to come deeper into the campaign. So I think just in the last few weeks we have seen her really sharpen up nicely. So come race day we may have a few more options there. Obviously the draw in the race is going to be sort of quite crucial as to sort of what we look to do. But yeah, no doubt in those first sort of few runs, those I guess those 1,000-metre races are certainly specialist trips for them, and I thought she did a good job under the circumstances, no doubt. But we are trying to change her training a little bit, sharpen her up. But I thought that the trial today was a good step forward.
Adrian, we've all seen the footage of Gay watching the Golden Slipper, and then all of a sudden the filly. Is she forgotten a little bit, and how good she actually is, and underestimated by a lot of people?
Well, yeah, it's certainly going to be an interesting year. I guess we talk about sort of the 3-year-olds that are going in. There's potentially going to be four 3-year-olds in the race, and she's arguably sort of got the best record of all those going there. So that's. I think it certainly is. She's a little bit sort of forgotten in that regard. Her first up run at Weight for Age, she beat the favourite of the race, and I'd like to think she's going to continue to improve as she's sort of gotten deeper into the campaign. So I guess we've seen as the races and the weeks have gone on, the races sort of either changed shape or opened up a little bit more or evened out to an extent. So. I think she well and truly deserves a place to be there, and sort of happy to go in under the radar there a little bit.
And of course in the Golden Slipper, Adrian, she came from off speed, showed her versatility, and that'll stand her in good stead for the Everest. What about this weekend, Adrian? We've got the Hill Stakes at Rose Hill. Will Royal Patronage back up from his game third in the Epsom, and New Endeavour seems to be coming up really well this spring?
Yeah, most likely to see both horses take their place. I thought Royal Patronage was excellent. May just be looking for that little bit of extra distance at this point in time. Getting out to the 1900 should be ideal. Not concerned by the backup with him at all. And he's obviously very, very brave and very honest there. The way that he stuck on, over the mile from a wide draw, just having to do a little bit of work in the early stages.
And the future of the stable's looking bright because you've trifected another Breeders' Plate.
Yeah, some lovely colts coming through there, so that's that's sort of exciting for everyone there involved, and they'll all sort of go out for a spell now and sort of be on their individual and sort of respective paths to sort of try and work the way towards the Golden Slipper now. So, very much would like to see a nice wave of young talent coming through off the back of this race.
Yeah, we know Tremotti will never lie down after his win in the Maribyrnong trial. That was a gutsy win, getting off the canvas.
Yeah, it's excellent. I love it's hard not to get excited by horses when they do that. Even better seeing Gay's reaction there as well, watching that race. There's sort of the two main things that get Gay very excited in racing is obviously the 2-year-old racing and getting a horse qualified for the Melbourne Cup. So she was able to tick both those boxes there at Melbourne on the day, and she was thoroughly enjoying herself on the day. You can see why she loves this game so much.
Yeah. On a scale of 1 to 10, Adrian, where do you rate compared to Gay at getting excited during races?
Gay's the 10 on the 0. But she's incredible. But I must say those wins like Tremonti, that even sort of got me up and about a little bit when you think you're gone. That gets a bit of reaction.
Yeah. All right. Good luck. We wait for the news on Storm Boy. It sounds like it's imminent. So good luck. Good to see you out there on Saturday.
Thanks very much.
There's Adrian Bott. So we've got 4 3-year-olds, Traffic Warden, Growing Empire, Storm Boy and Lady of Camelot. We've got 1 filly. No fillies run in the race since year 1.
Since we had 3. Yeah, and that was when we had the 3 3-year-olds, and it's been the most ever, but all for months, haven't we? Since the Golden Slipper virtually, we've been anticipating a number of 3-year-olds lining up in this Everest, and we'll have 4, Chantel.
And we will, but I think the best part is that we've got so many females now going around in the race.
6. 5 older mares and 6 if you count Lady of Camelot.
Race. Incredible, isn't it? Maybe the changing of the guard in terms of
spring ranks,
the filly or the ladies, because none of them have ever won it before.
What
this could be the first year.
What order do we put the 3-year-olds in? If you go back through the form, Storm Boy and Traffic Warden met 5 times. It's amazing they've met 5 times in their career. I think they've only had 8 or 10 starts. Storm Boy had the first 2, and the last 3 have been Traffic Warden. Has Traffic Warden gone past Storm Boy? I'd probably say at the moment yes. And then where do you put Lady of Camelot compared to the 2 colts? And, as I said, it looks like she might be a little bit forgotten and underestimated going into the race.
Can we just put that slot page up one more time? We might just fill in a few of the jockeys that people might not know about. I Wish I Win, we're assuming Luke Nolan.
Yes.
Craig Williams will ride Bella Nipotina. Kerem McAvoy's picked up the ride on Growing Empire. McDonald will ride Jolie Star. Tommy Berry will ride Sunshine in Paris. Jamie Carr will ride Traffic Warden. Nash will ride I Am Me.
Yes, locked in, yep.
Jay Ford will ride Private Eye. Zach Lloyd will ride Steffi Magnetica. Rachel King will ride Lady of Camelot. So we wait for a rider on Giga Kick, and we wait for a rider on Storm Boy, and we wait for Storm Boy himself.
Yes, correct.
I think we'll find at least one of those riders might come from a racing mecca.
An overseas rider flying in?
I think I think that's pretty much, you could pretty much lock that in. That they'll be looking far and wide because of what's left in the jockeys room and things like that.
So we have 5 older mares, 4 3-year-olds, last year's place getters, 2nd and 3rd, and 2022's winner. That's how it's shaping up in this year's Tab Everest. Ben Dorries will give his point of view after this. Okay, we went to a break looking at the jockeys who are confirmed for the Tab Everest. There was one missing, Giga Kick. But, Ben Dorries, you've got news.
Yeah, I do, Rads. Received a text message just now. Mark Zara, has been booked to ride Giga Kick in the Everest. So that almost fills in a full book of jockeys for the 2024 Everest.
Does the text also say how they're feeling about going to the Everest on the back of Saturday's run?
It it may or may not, the text have said they feel that J-Mac has made a mistake not sticking with Giga Kick, but I won't go too far into that.
Okay, but they've got a suitable replacement there with Zara.
Yeah, he's been riding the house down, obviously, in the last couple of years, been winning Melbourne Cups and all sorts of other things for fun, Rad. So another interstate jockey, I guess, joining Jamie Carr and those likes, looking to pinch the big Sydney race.
Okay, now you had some Kosciuszko interest in Queensland this morning. Far Too Easy trialled at the Gold Coast.
Yeah, Rads, and I guess the interest around this too is the rider for Far Too Easy and the Kosciuszko we revealed yesterday. Craig Williams, the the Grand Slam winning jockey, has been booked by David McComb. Here is Far Too Easy leading the trial on the Gold Coast this morning and just gets further and further ahead under Craig Williams. Now, this came about in an interesting way. Craig Williams last year expressed some interest in riding Far Too Easy if the time that horse made the Group 1 Stradbroke handicap field. Now, that didn't eventuate, but he stayed in touch with David McComb ever since, and there was a chance for him to come up and trial this horse, and he's been booked to ride in the Kosciuszko. And, of course, this is the horse. I think they could make a movie about it. I mean, he's almost died from colic earlier this year. He was so sick that David McComb actually said his final goodbyes. He survived raging floodwaters through the stables. And, of course, if we go back further in time, his story is tinged with tragedy there as well, because Chris Kosciuszko was the first rider of Far Too Easy who tragically died in the surf, we remember. And he said to everyone who would listen, Chris Kosciuszko at the time, that this horse was going to be a superstar. He thought it was even a new market handicap contender. So, look, that's going back a fair while now, and we've seen this horse have a real roller coaster career, running placings in the last two Kosciuszkos. But, look, David McComb thinks he's got him up and firing. The one thing he really wants is a softish track. He doesn't want a track too firm. But that is a big booking for the Kosciuszko Craig Williams, who had the first feel of the horse on the Gold Coast this morning, Rats.
Rachel King's going to have a third ride in a Tab Everest, and we now know that she's going to be joined in that room by Jamie Carr, who's also got a ride. So it might be a chance for the female jockeys.
Yeah, absolutely. Wouldn't it be great to see one of the terrific female jockeys we have win the Everest? Swings and roundabouts, isn't it, racing? Rachel King was actually meant to ride, when I say meant, she was never booked, but she was, considering riding Steffi Magnetica in the Stradbroke. One point, of course, she went and got married overseas, and the wedding obviously took precedence. She got married to Luke Hilton, of course, and they had a great wedding ceremony over there. But look, she watched from afar as Steffi Magnetica won the Group 1 Stradbroke during the Queensland Winter Carnival. Now she'll be riding against that very same horse in the Everest. So, look, it's funny how racing works. Look, one thing that the crew of Lady of Camelot did tell me, I know we had Adrian Bott on there earlier, but Sir Owen Glenn's men say, look, in hindsight, it may have been a little bit of a mistake running in the shorts. They're not quite convinced whether that was the right race to go to. They like the gap between runs, but look, everything just went wrong on that day. But, fresh is best with this girl, and she's now pretty spicy odds, I think, in an Everest. Might be $30 to 1 or $34. Here she is in the shorts, just didn't fire. And, yeah, Sir Owen Glenn, the owner, just thinks in retrospect it may have been, a mistake to run her in this race. She just wasn't suited here on the day. But, look, if the real Lady of Camelot turns up, she'll be in the Everest up to her ears, I'm sure.
And the Everest is the only race, I think the only race, Ray, you can... What else hasn't she won, Gay Waterhouse?
She won a Derby now, so
she's won a Derby.
Just on the Cox Plate.
Yeah, and a Cox Plate. So they're the Everest and Cox Plate, that's about it. So the scenes would be quite remarkable if she could win it.
Oh, absolutely, Rads. I mean, we saw what happened in Melbourne on the weekend, didn't we? We saw the scenes there before. I mean, can you imagine Gay Waterhouse winning the Everest? I mean, the place would dead set explode. I mean, the younger crowd there, imagine her down there dancing away with some of the younger crew. It'd be terrific. And look, I just love the way she is, Gay. She just calls a spade, a shovel, a shovel. I mean, look, we're still talking on this show, aren't we, about Storm Boy, and, we're sure that that colt's been announced for the Everest. Gay actually announced it herself about a week ago. She couldn't help herself, but I love her. She's just so good for racing. I think she connects so many audiences, and there she is. Look at her. It's impossible not to love her. She's still got the enthusiasm she had, I reckon, for racing when she was a little girl. Go for Prime Minister, I reckon. She's that good. The long may it continue.
Benny, thank you. We'll talk again very soon.
Thanks, guys.
Ben Dorry's there. We'll come back and wrap up with more Kosciuszko news and a bit of King Charles as well after this. That was a shot of front page, out of sight, out of mind. We won't see him until Kosciuszko Day. We'll assume he's going well.
Try well last week. He is flying front page. A long-time favourite, deservedly so.
We'll get back to the Kosciuszko. One more look at the Everest market. Now that you've armed with all this information that we've been able to share with you tonight, you can almost put an S next to Stormboy's name there, but I wish I win his favourite over Bella Nipotina, Growing Empire. He's been very solid. In fact, he started firming up before they announced the slot. The horse that did firm was Traffic Warden. Tim Ryan saying they needed to change the percentages a bit because Giga Kick got out, so something else had to come in. Yeah. And also there has been good money for him. But look at that. Growing Empire, Traffic Warden, Stormboy on that first page, and then you get to Steffi, Private Eye, I Am Me and Lady of Camelot. That's just about the makeup of the field. Here is the Kosciuszko. Now, let's start with the slot holders and the runners. It was locked away when Asgarda was announced as the last horse into the field, and that's shaping up as a very, very good addition this year. Front page trying, well, he created history last year by winning his second Kosciuszko and his favourite to make it 3.
And Far Too Easy's been placed twice, hasn't he? So he won't be too far away again on the evidence of that trial.
Oh God, it's really.
And Cavalier Charles run 4th twice.
Is he still 280 front page? He's been 280 for 6 months. Boom Talk, Far Too Easy, Compelling Truth is a horse that
going well.
Is very, very interesting. Bandy's Boy. He ran in the Premier Stakes. It's not unusual, Shani, for country horses to go round in these higher class races en route to a Kosciuszko?
Not at all. And Jay Ford's comments when he got off him were he missed a run. It's the run he needed to have before the Kosciuszko. I thought he held his own. This is a much tougher race than what he's going to meet Kosciuszko Day.
I thought it was the perfect tempo for him because they didn't go too hard. So he was able to really stick with them and not be chasing a long way out. So it's probably a better lead up for him than you thought it was going to be if they went really hard. I know he's run last, but you know, those horses, if they were in a Kosciuszko, would be $1.20.
Exactly.
Elson Boy was first up in the last on Saturday. He hadn't run for 77 days. There he is in front doing what he does. Shani, how did he look in the yard? He certainly needed it.
He did, yeah, but no, actually he looked okay. I think, again, this is the run that he was going to need to have. He'd had that little bit of a freshen up and he didn't stop completely. The others got over the top of him late, but he was only beaten, 2 lengths on the line, so I thought it was a nice enough effort.
And those horses in front of him were all going to better races.
Exactly, they're talented horses. Yeah.
Briassus is just a star.
He's a star. Ostraka possibly an eagle eventually. So for him to run that close, I thought it was a good job.
Such a competitive run,
It was nice to see Dar Lund down at Randwick on Saturday, and Greg Pritchard spoke with him after the run of Elson Boy.
Taken up back from a spell. His last run here at Randwick was good in the 1200, so I expect him to go good.
He goes good on all sorts of tracks, good, soft and heavy, but have you got a preference on the day?
I wouldn't worry me if it poured down rain, like he does go good in the soft, but he goes good on the dry as well, so he's a horse that's won 3 or 4 on sort of every occasion,
It can be nervous times when the Kosciuszko's on and you're waiting to get a call from a slot holder or slot holders. How did that process go?
Yeah, it was, but I didn't think I was going to get one, and they actually rang Brett Robb, but his horse Gallant Star was gone, and he said to him, well, why don't you try the other Dubbo horse, and they come from Grenfell, the people that ended up taking him, and they did. So they rang me up and we done a deal, and it was smooth sailing from there on in.
Okay, here's the King Charles market. Now this had a bit of a twist in it this week. The Victorian Stewards opened an inquiry into Kieran Maher as to why he nominated Pride of Jenny for both the Toorak and the Might and Power, and it seen by Kieran Maher's comments that they are still thinking of running in that race in Melbourne, which would rule Pride of Jenny out of the King Charles?
Well, you wouldn't think she'd then come up here and then go back for the Cox Plate.
Yeah.
So if she runs this weekend, I dare say she won't be running in the King Charles.
It takes all the excitement out if Jenny's not here.
Yeah, looking forward to watching a race again, aren't we?
Yeah, just excited on what she'll do and what the tactics would be.
We'll go to the Epsom. Chawolf announced himself as a top-class racehorse on Saturday, winning the Epsom, and Joe Pride had all these things going into his head prior to this, whether it was going to be a Metropolitan or the Epsom or where he was going to go.
And then there was talk of possibly going to Melbourne as well.
And then after this win, then he's got another problem. Well, what do I do now?
And
the Hill Stakes came into the conversation. Does he back him up? He even toyed with the eye of even going to the Caulfield Cup, but no, he'll stay in Sydney, he'll stay at the Mile and run in the King Charles.
$1 million bonus with it as well.
Why not? Yeah. He's absolutely an electric horse.
Weight for age acceleration, hasn't he, Chantal?
Yeah, and I don't think, Joe's mentioned it, he doesn't know how good he is. Yeah. There's more to come, which is scary.
He got a fantastic toe into that race from Tom Kidden.
That's because you tipped Tom and you're just talking.
No, but those two horses have been right through. They've always been really close together. I spoke to Joe the other day, and he's not in the Golden Eagle noms, but he can go in there at any time because it's a free nom. It's not a
no late entry fee.
No late entry.
Okay,
but his thoughts were we'll go to the King Charles and then maybe to a Champion Stakes at 2,000 metres. He said, but from now on in, we're on a free roll. Because he said, we've done the job we wanted to do, we've won the Group 1, we've got the trophy, we've got the money. Everything we go from here is a bonus. So I think he's going to turn into one of our better weight for age horses in the country.
Before we wrap up, how important is this barrier draw going to be next Tuesday night?
We say it every year, don't we, Greg? It's the race probably hinges on it, doesn't it, really? A lot of the horses, particularly a horse like Lady of Camelot, the speed horses in the race, if they can draw reasonable barriers.
Well, the speed horses are now Lady of Camelot and potentially Stormboy, but it depends on how well they jump.
Always super important.
Both from the one stable.
Would you prefer Stormboy or draw in or out? I reckon he's better out than in.
Given his circumstances of late, probably out because he was much better out the other day. But they did put a barrier extension on and he did go in last, so I guess you don't really know.
I don't think a wide barrier lessens his chances to win, where I think an inside barrier does lessen his chances to win.
It's going to be on air here on Sky Thoroughbred Central next Tuesday night in this time slot, so we look forward to that. And that's just about it. See you at the barrier draw.
See you at the barrier draw.
We'll see you at the races before then.
Okay.
I thought you were giving us a day off.
Thank you. That's it. Barrier draw next Tuesday.
The Tab Everest. They're off and racing. Think about it, Private Eye. I wish I win. Think about it in front from I wish I win. Think about it.
I wish I win on the outside, grabbing the lead, and I wish I win one from Bellinifatina.
Here she comes, Jolly Star, shot away. Ease down, Jolly Star. She is a star in the making.